Right then, this one is all about media influences on antisocial behaviour. So we've done the positive side of things, and now we're looking at basically probably all the news stories that you've heard in the past about how watching violent TV and violence on TV can cause aggression. And this particular part of the topic is not about video games. This is about violent TV. I'm sure you've heard about video games in the news and all that. We're going to do that on a separate week. So this one is about, what does watching violent TV cause people to go off and be aggressive? Okay, so that's the basic question that we're looking at today. And we're going to look, I'm going to give you the AO1 in this video, and then we'll look at any research support for it in the lesson for AO2. So this is all AO1, this video, and this is all about a study by Huseman and Moyes, and they actually suggested 5 ways that exposure to violence leads to aggression in children. And here they are: observational learning, cognitive priming, desensitization, load physiological arousal, and justification. I'm going to talk you through each of those areas in turn so that you understand what they mean. Okay, so the first one, observational learning, this is going back to social learning theory, and this is all about how, again, we'll look at Bandura and his Bobo doll again and how this supports it, but this is all about how the ARM model, we pay attention to models that we like. So if we see someone that we really like being aggressive or violent, that means we're more motivated to copy it. We need to memorize the behaviors, and we need to have the skills to reproduce them. And then our motivation to imitate them depends on a number of things. Firstly, how much they like the model. Secondly, whether the consequences for the model are positive or negative. So if the model is punished for carrying out their aggressive behaviour, we're less likely to be motivated to copy them. And then again, how real the scenarios are. If it's a completely unrealistic scenario that's like a million miles away from your own life, you're going to be less likely to copy it. So that's observational learning and how social learning theory applies to this area. And you might find that from your studies of aggression, actually there's a few things that you can apply from that, and that this whole area topic might be a little bit easier in that sense. Right, the second way that we can copy aggressive behaviour if we watch violent media is through cognitive priming. And this looks at those cases where actually we don't reproduce a behaviour in the same way as social learning theory would suggest. So we don't see one behaviour and then go off and do the same thing. This is looking at when children observe one kind of aggression and go and commit a different kind straight afterwards. And what Huseman and Moyes suggested was that this shows that they have existing aggression within them, and that seeing a violent film or violent TV actually just activates that, and they go off and do a different kind of aggression, because that aggression is like they've been primed, they've been their cognitions have been activated. The other part of this is that if they see the same kind of scene a lot, they'll store almost like a script for it. And then if you have same aspects of the same scene present later, that can just activate that script to carry out, and they may then follow that script right through. So that's cognitive priming. And then we've got desensitization is our next explanation. And this is all about the fact that when we first see a violent film or a violent scene on TV, we respond physically to it. It's a really unpleasant feeling. If you think about the first time you saw anything violent on TV, your heart thumps in your chest, you breathe heavily. It's like arousal, but in a negative way. So it's looking at the idea that the more we see, the less we respond to it. We become desensitized. So the first time you see something a violent act, we have this negative reaction, and that stops us from actually going and copying it. However, if we watch that violent act again, our reaction is less the next time. If we then watch something more violent, our reaction to the first thing will be even less. So we become desensitized to this negative reaction to violence. So what then happens is it becomes like a normal behaviour. So we're more likely to go and copy it because it's just normal. So the more we're exposed to it, the less arousal we feel and the less our aggression is inhibited. So normally what happens is when we have this negative reaction to seeing this violence, it means that it stops us from going and copying it. But if we become desensitized, this aggressive behavior becomes normal, and we're more likely to we're more likely to copy it because it's just normal. We don't have that negative reaction. Now the fourth area is called lowered physiological arousal, and this is quite related to the last area. And it says actually that males, this is more true for than for females. And that if you have boys who are really heavy TV watchers, they show lower than usual arousal. And the idea is that if you become desensitized to it, even when you're watching new scenes of violence, you have lower responses. So you're more likely to go off and do it. So as I say, similar to desensitization, but talking about how desensitization is stronger for men than for women. Okay, and about the fact that you're less inhibited to use violence because you've got lower than usual arousal. Right, last one, justification. This is almost the other way round. So it's where children who are already being aggressive watch violent films or violent TV in order to justify their behaviour. It kind of relieves their guilt. So it's like the other way round. It's not necessarily saying that it's the film that's caused the violence. But what it does do is it makes them more likely to go off and be aggressive again. So if they're feeling guilty for being aggressive, watch this TV and it kind of justifies it because somebody else is doing it. Particularly if it's gone unpunished on the TV, they're going to worry less about the consequences. The TV might almost suggest that problems can be solved through aggression. If someone goes and punches someone else and then they make up, it can suggest that solves the problem. So they're more likely to repeat aggressive behaviour if they watch TV and find it justified. So that's what this one is all about. So that's the 5 areas. Take you back to that slide. You've got here we are, observational learning, which was social learning theory, cognitive priming, where existing aggression is activated, desensitization, where the more you watch, the more it becomes normal, and so you're likely to copy it, lowered physiological arousal, where you don't have that negative reaction, and so it doesn't stop you from going to do it, and then you've got justification, where you watch it to justify already aggressive behaviour, and then you go off and do more. Okay, so that is our AO1 for this area.